welcome to another edition of the Deals for Dentists podcast. And today we have a team from Dental Temp Staffing Solutions, or DTSS. And you can find their promo offer on dealsfordentist.com. Place an order and have a temporary employee assigned in 5 minutes or less. It's just that simple. So DTSS is a new partner on the Deals for Dentists community, and they're a pretty dynamic company. And it really aligns with Deals for Dentists and the stress-free dentistry groups that I have going. And Brett Cole and his company here, we've been talking for a while, and there's just really a forward-thinking, progressive company, and they really have they're creating a very holistic approach to the practice management approach. So today we're joined by Brett Cole. He's the CEO of DTSS. We have Joanna Monroe, the COO of DTSS, and we have Pete Rowe, DTSS broker of choice and president of Arcwood Benefits, HR and Retirement. So thanks for joining us, everyone.
Thank you.
Hey, Eric. Thank you.
Okay, so Brett, let's start with you. Brett Cole is the CEO. And can you tell us all about DTSS and how did it get its start?
Sure, Eric. Shannon, my wife, started the company in about April 2014, based on her desire to do things a bit different. And after working as a temp for several years in various offices, she just felt like she could really do it better. Once she got a few associates, some clients, the phone started to ring and the chaos ensued. I kind of watched for about a month, and then we kind of stepped back and had a conversation about that. And next thing you know, we're developing our own technology and trying to be the most sophisticated company in the market.
So what exactly is DTSS, and what are the core services that you're offering?
So right now we're offering basically two core services. We've really kind of championed the staffing services with our technology and been working on that for years. And I wanted, years ago when I looked at the business, I just felt like there was another opportunity. And that's where the workforce management has come into play. And so now we're offering staffing services and workforce management, which is where we partner with you. We handle the staff, the payroll, the HR, benefits, and we have a lot of or some other great products and services that we're kind of pulling into that, and we're annualizing that over the year through an hourly cost. It's really pretty cool.
Okay, so right now you have staffing and workforce management. What else do you have on the horizon that's going to be coming up in the future?
Well, I want to be careful what I say, but we're developing our next iteration of our technology. Really excited about that, and we feel like we're going to be able to pull in other things and be able to do some really cool stuff when it comes to helping dentists not only do or perform human capital management services for them, but do other things as well that will help them, like kind of align with what you're doing and provide them a more stress-free, good quality of life.
Awesome. And Joanna, can you explain, are you national, and what are DTSS strengths? How do you scale this from like a local type of platform to something nationally?
Yeah, so thanks for asking that. Just a little bit of background. So I am a recovering lawyer, and I've spent the last 25 years in the staffing industry. I'm new to dentistry, and I met Brett, and I was really pulled in by his vision because what I learned about dentistry is that there are some really awesome, it's made up of these really fantastic practitioners, but the majority of these practitioners are in offices on their own, and what they do really well is dentistry. But where they have some challenges, like almost any employer these days, is finding great talent. And so where I think DTSS comes in is saying, all right, you can focus on your practice and the things you do well, and we can find the talent for you. And what I loved about what Brett and Shannon, his wife, what they brought to the table is taking all of the crap out behind it. Just to put it bluntly, make it really simple. If you are a dentist's office and you want to be able to get folks on demand, because you've got a full schedule, you've got clients to see, and then somebody calls out, if you cannot fill that position with a hygienist, you're going to lose a day's worth of revenue. So it's as simple as signing up in our technology. And if somebody calls out, you can put in an order. And we've got hygienists that we've already pre-screened, background checked, they're ready to go. And they can self-assign in a matter of 5 minutes to fill that order. And so because we have that technology and we can get all of these offices online and qualified, and we can get all of our staff qualified, we can scale very quickly in any market to fill those orders. And so that's what I get really, really excited about. So that's our plan right now. We have wonderful recruiters who know the dental industry. I think combined, our team has over 100 years in dentistry. They've worked in offices. They know what it takes to be successful and to be able to kind of jump into a setting and seamlessly fill to make sure that there's not a lot of gaps. So that's kind of what we're doing. And I think our technology allows us to do it very seamlessly.
I love that word seamless, because so you're essentially adding the technology and filling voids. Are you essentially trying to help out the dentists, simplify their lives so that we can focus on what we do best, and that's dentistry?
That's right. We really have two service offerings, as Brett spoke about. The first is basically staffing, and that's you have a need because someone's going on leave or someone calls out, and our job there is to help you preserve your revenue. We want to make sure that you have somebody in place to step in and help. But the other part of that on the staffing side is just finding people. Right now, we are in an epidemic. It's not just a pandemic, it's an epidemic of people not wanting to go to work, and it's harder and harder to find people. So whether it's temp or we need to find your full-time staff, we can do that. We have really great recruiting. But on the other side of the house, I mean, our skill set is basically HR. We can do payroll, we can do benefits, we can unemployment, all of those things that, can be a real headache for a practitioner. That's what we do. We are your outsourced HR, and we have access to really great brokers like Pete, and through our ability to leverage our volume, we can get better discounts. So that's our goal, is to really just simplify the life of a dentist by outsourcing those HR practices and processes. And it just helps to make life easier.
And speaking of life easier, do you take a lot of risk out of the dentists as far as the human capital management and the staffing?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So my background, I told you, was in staffing, and I'm a recovering lawyer, and I can tell you that the employment laws across the country right now are just becoming traps for even the most skilled people who are focusing on this all the time. Federal, state, local, COVID pay, safety rules, sick leave, it is becoming a real trap for employers. And so when you work with a partner like us and you outsource the regulatory requirements to track and follow to someone who does this every day for all of their clients, then you reduce your risk, because we tell you what you need to do, and we're responsible for making sure that you're compliant in those regards. So that's really a really important part of our partnership, is reducing your risk with regard to regulatory enforcement, or actually claims by plaintiffs' attorneys for employment law risks.
Okay. And now, Pete, you're in charge of the health and wealth benefits. Can you explain that and how that fits in with DTSS?
Absolutely. It's a great question, and it really just kind of plays on what Joanna and Brett have been talking about. Is creating an environment which is going to make the day-to-day operations a lot more seamless and easier for them to manage. And so, really, it's about using the size of DTSS to create an environment where we have a lot more predictability and stability for offering a benefits package, specifically on the health insurance side. Just because as things have changed, we've had healthcare reform that came in, and it's been, there's pros, there's cons, but from the reality of it is, if we're kind of looking at what's happened in the marketplace, we've seen a 55% increase in premiums, a 111% increase in deductibles, compared to the average of a 27% increase in workers' wages. And on top of that, out-of-pocket responsibilities have increased from, it used to be $4,000 a person on an annual basis, and now we're, up in the $8,000. And just, looking at, a hygienist income and assistant income, I mean, we're talking that there could be anywhere between 15 and 30% of their, take-home pay or their gross income is at risk for healthcare. And so really what we're doing is we're creating an environment which helps bend that cost curve and give, the offices and their important employees the ability to, control those costs, reduce those costs, and make educated decisions on how they manage the healthcare.
And can you do this for like a small, solo practitioner, versus a large DSO and anywhere in between?
We can. I mean, because really what the crux of it is that when they're joining into the ecosystem for DTSS, then they become eligible for these types of benefits just on how it's being set up. And so it does give them the power of joining in and then being a participant in this. And the nice thing is, we have programs that we're seeing a 15 to 20% reduction in costs. We also have programs where the employees, when they're participating and they're kind of, using our recommended claims advocates and going through our process, we have the opportunity of reducing their out-of-pocket expenses down to zero. But the important thing is that each one of our participants actually have these individual choices. So if we're in an office of say 10 people and 3 people are heavily using the insurance and they want to use the PPO plan and they want to see their doctor and they want to see the hospital that they've been seeing forever, they absolutely have that power. But if they want to have the ability of reviewing some of the providers with us, and using some of the tools that we have available, which could potentially involve going a mile down the road to a different facility, then we have the ability of reducing their out-of-pockets and making sure that the quality of care is as good or better than what they're potentially used to.
So how can this model help reduce stress, increase predictability with a benefits plan?
Really because, I mean, healthcare is one of the most challenging industries we have right now from my side of the ledger. And the reason is because we've had increase after increase after increase. We've had benefit reduction. The highest rate of bankruptcy right now is caused by some type of a health event. And most of the individuals that actually have health insurance, we have a real high propensity of them actually not being able to afford their out-of-pocket expenses. And so, since healthcare reform dinged in, we have a new term that goes in the Webster dictionary, which is called underinsurance, which effectively means is that, what I alluded to earlier is that if we have, say, dental assistant, or we have somebody at the front desk and their income's $40,000, but they're at risk for themselves personally for $8,000, and then they got kids on the plan, now they're at risk for $16,000, they're generating bills and they can't be paid, So our sole purpose is to create an environment where we can stop the benefit erosion, we can give the participants the opportunity of reducing their out-of-pocket risk, and we can stop the perpetual conversation of, I have great news, we're only going to be increasing your premiums by 5% this year on a great renewal, which just for me as an individual is ludicrous, because if anybody does the math, that means I've got to reserve, $1 million in revenue so I can just cover the increase in costs and just come out ahead. And it just to break even. So we have to do something different to change, the conversation and to give the participants the ability of being a lot more secure in their financial wellness, and by kind of, stopping the bleeding on the healthcare cost side.
So
sorry, I'm a little passionate about it. So if I go a little overboard, you can rein me in a little bit.
No, that's good stuff. So not only are you, creating jobs and supporting dental practices, but you're also creating a better health and benefits program, reducing, health insurance for the participants in your group. So that's great.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about everything we said, it's all about anxiety. We're reducing the anxiety of running the office because they've got programs, to help shift those conversations and those tasks to somebody else. From my jurisdiction, we've got the ability of reducing anxiety of how the healthcare is going to work and the financial wellness around it. So it's really about creating stability in an environment so they get to do what they want to do, which is dentistry.
Now, how is you said you have recruiters out there. What's the process of the recruiters finding the workforce, the staff? And is that a major, I guess, attraction to working for DTSS? Is this great benefits program?
Is that a question for me or for Brett? That's for Brett, I think, right?
I'm looking right at Brett.
Yeah. Joanna handle that if I can.
Yeah, and you can speak to the benefits potentially, Brett, but so we do have a wonderful team, and we know where to find folks. We use digital recruiting. We know the websites where they are communicating in groups, and we have the ability to have evangelists and folks who've worked for us promote us on these sites. And we're able to tap in and create an experience that is interesting and valuable with PTO, benefits, bonuses, and things that we can offer to folks who want to come work for us. They can come work for us they can work for us full time in different offices. To earn some extra income, they can come in that way. And so that's kind of the way that we recruit folks. They get to experience different opportunities. From the dentist side, in terms of recruiting, what a dentist gets to see is, rather than, posting up a job, spending an office manager, can sort through 50 different Indeed resumes, spend all kinds of time asking people to come in for an interview. And a lot of people are just applying to get their unemployment benefits and never really even show up to go through with the qualifying and then the reference checking and all that, only to have somebody join and not be a good fit for the office. It's a terrible waste of time because hiring and interviewing is a really big, important skill set. So one of the offerings that we have, which benefits both the person who's interviewing, so the hygienist or the dental assistant, as well as the dentist, is the direct, the temp to perm role. So come on in, we'll place you in an office, and we'll have you work there for a while and see if it's a good fit. And if it is, then we can convert you to full time. So that's why I think some people choose us, to have that experience and opportunity. Brett, and maybe Pete, you can speak to some of the benefits that we're offering.
I just want to say that years ago, I knew this was it was a hot button, right? I mean, as a business owner and trying to do what we wanted to do, which is, we really want to convert our workforce from kind of a temporary volunteer type workforce to a full-time, we work together as associate employer and make that a permanent relationship. I wanted things to be more predictive than us being reactive. And so that's when I looked at, the technology and how we operate internally. And then with the benefits piece, going and actually being introduced to Pete. And we've been together for a while now working on this program. So I'll let him speak to more of that. But we needed to be able to understand, how we would be, or how we could provide those things to our people and make sure that they were taken care of and taken care of well.
Yeah, and I guess, Pete can speak to specifics, but what we're offering is your basic medical, dental, PTO, holiday pay. We offer training and certification, equipment, and some CPE. So we've got a pretty full array of benefits. The specifics of what your medical and your deductibles will be office by office.
I'm in that one little sleeve of the benefit side of thing versus they offer a long list of opportunities for the dentists.
You mentioned equipment. So let's just say, for example, I have a hygienist that calls out sick, and you can set me up with make me with a hygienist that's available, or an assistant. Do they actually bring their own equipment?
So we've actually partnered with several companies, Clara Mask, PDT, um, twice as nice uniforms. The idea is that we want to try to make or standardize as much as possible. So some people have preferences on equipment that they use or instruments or whatever. But yes, they're going to show up. They're going to have their own bag of instruments, PPE. And with that, we're looking at driving, savings, not only, as temporaries coming in, but, through our workforce management that we're going to take and we're going to manage all of that for you so that you don't have to do it. And your folks always have nice uniforms, equipment, instruments, things like that, sharp instruments, PPE to use, and just, so you don't have to worry about that. Everybody that we're dealing with, some great folks, and there's going to be more to come on later. But the idea is that we can provide everybody everything they need and annualize that cost by the hour. And that way you never have to worry about it. It's paid for. And everything that we're doing right now actually has a savings associated with it from, say, 10 or 15% per, product or service.
Okay, so this assistant or hygienist, they've gotten the call, or is this through an app? Is this through an application that you have that it kind of matches? Is there an algorithm that matches the local staffer to my office? How does that work?
Yeah, so the technology interacts with everybody, right? So we looked for technology early on and we just couldn't find anything. There was a lot of applicant tracking systems in the staffing industry. And we ran through all that, and just I understood that nobody offered what I wanted, right, to make our business lean and efficient. So we basically use an operating system that is web-based, and our first iteration, and basically we have different criteria, and through the different filters and algorithms and things like that, the system matches up people based on what the criteria is. So the specifics of what you want in your office.
And on the workforce side, is this almost like the Uber of staffing? Like they log in and they're available. And if, let's say, you've recruited a great staffer, but they're on vacation for the week and they're not available, they turn themselves, I guess, off for that week and they're not available, whereas someone else is available. Is it work like that as well?
Right. So the idea with the workforce management is there's going to be an opportunity, and as we grow in different geographical areas, where we're going to offer the staffing services as a part of our workforce management agreement. So what that means is that when people are taking off for whatever reason, they're sick or they're just taking time off, like we don't call it sick time or vacation now, right? It's just PTO. So for whatever reason, they're not going to be there. That day is going to be reposted, and that's going to pull in our staffing services portion of our business. And, we are going to fill that day or days or weeks with one of our other candidates that works for us as a temporary or from other areas of the business.
And are you providing assistants, hygienists, and dentists as well?
Yeah, so we've got dentists, front office assistants, hygienists, Joanna,
Office manager.
office managers, and we want to try to help the lab industry as well, as it's kind of a really unique kind of even smaller niche than the dental industry itself. So we're working on that as well.
Yeah. So just to kind of reiterate, Eric, so two aspects. One is the staffing, which is temp. That's an easy place to start with us. Give us a call. We'll get you signed up. You need somebody today, we'll go ahead. We'll do that search for you. If no fee unless we find you somebody. It's a great place to start. Workforce management. We will outsource your entire staff. You don't have to give up your staff. We'll turn them over to our payroll, our benefits. It'll be seamless. It'll be great for them. We have real good transition. They're not going to hate us. We promise. We'll be the silent partner behind the scenes. And those two things work really well together, because then as we're managing your staff, if you have a vacancy, we'll fill it for you. You don't have to worry about it. An important part of this part of the temp side is, as we've been marketing, very, very unusual, but very unique to the dentistry industry is this referral concept, right? So I was surprised. I'm like, there's not a lot of temp in dentistry, but there's this whole referral fee. I'll send you a 1099. That is such a high risk proposition. And it's also very inconvenient because somebody has to process that 1099 and pay them, put them on their payroll. But 1099, the government, the plaintiff's attorneys are coming after you for wages and everything else. So if you think you can work with a 1099 or referral fee, that's just not a great place to be. And so I think we have to teach dentists about the risks they don't even know they're taking on. We can solve that problem, but right now I don't even think they know they have a problem. So that's just something to be aware of.
Can you explain that in a little more detail? So if let's say I have a staffing agency that's I'm hiring a temporary hygienist. Traditionally, they are being categorized as a 1099, and that is a lot more of a risky situation for the dental office. And in your situation, is it a W-2?
Yeah.
Within your management system?
Correct. Correct. So 1099 is a traditional independent contractor, and there is a test under both the IRS as well as the wage and hour rules. IRS for payroll taxes and wage and hour for the purpose of overtime and that sort of stuff. And the federal government and many states, and particularly in California, have basically eliminated, I wouldn't say the federal government has cracked down on that independent contractor test. It's getting harder and harder to prove it. In California, basically has eliminated the ability to have anybody who's doing the work of your business to be an independent contractor. So for example, if you are a dentist and part of your business is putting your hands in people's mouth to fix their teeth, and you hire somebody to help you fix teeth, that's not going to be, you can't be an independent contractor. If you're a dentist and you have an independent contractor to come in and fix your heating, that's an independent contractor. So in that instance, if you don't classify them correctly and the government or plaintiff's attorney comes after you, you'll be liable for payroll taxes as well as potentially overtime or minimum wage. So we are a W-2 employer. We take care of all the payroll taxes. We make sure minimum wage and overtime is paid. We do unemployment. We manage all of those things. And I get why a referral company does that 1099, because they don't want to handle that stuff. But that's our core competency. And we keep you safe. That's a big part of it. Whether you're temp or workforce management, that's the value that we bring.
You know who else doesn't want to handle all of this? The dentist. I mean, we get out of school and we are taught none of this. So what you just spoke to me there was like Greek. It's like another language. And dentists, we know fillings, we know crowns. That's what we're best at. We don't want to be thinking about all this other, categorization of your workforce. And, it's so much nicer to have someone else handle that for you, especially as your organization gets bigger. If you're just starting out as a sole practitioner and you have, 1 or 2 employees, that's different. But like in my office, where we're up to 20 and it's just one location. But when you start adding multiple locations, it gets even more complex. So
and I think that this is another thing that I want to add, just based on what you're talking about. We have dentists who call us, one recently, or say, just a client, whether it's an office manager or a dentist, really, right? And they're asking about, hey, can we get on and look at their profiles and their credentials and all this stuff? And this is an area where we have chosen not to make people's profiles available and credentials and all that. We've chosen to say, hey, we're going to provide you somebody. The more that you sit down and you start sifting through people, the more time that takes. And I mean, personally, I think your time, if you were to put a dollar value on your per hour worth, or what you can earn, I mean, it's got to be hundreds of dollars an hour. And I don't understand, and that's why we didn't go this route, why people like yourself would want to do that. Where you make your money is by having people in your operatory and, seeing them seeing your patients. So that's another thing where we have chosen to do business a certain way. And that's why we want to handle everything, provide you with what you need. That way you don't have to sit down, surf Facebook or anything like that. One other thing I want to add is that one of our associates a while back was saying, hey, I went on this other site and, they want to charge me. And, I waited for somebody to call me and nobody ever did. She said, that's the reason I like you. When something's available, your system pings me and I can go in, I can look, I can accept, and I have a job, right? So that's the other thing about how we operate is we're trying to maximize efficiency by doing things a certain way. And that's why we've developed our technology and our business processes the way we have.
So on the employee side, they have an app on their phone or their computer where they get dinged or emailed?
It's actually just a web-based app, right? So it's not like a native app. So there are some limitations, but text messages, emails, they are prompted. As we move into our second piece of technology, these are things that we're thinking about right now. And there's just a lot of, ways to go. So I don't want to get too deep into that because I think it would bore people. But, first you work on your web-based app and then you work on your native app. So, but there's a lot of things that are being done now with web-based apps. So I'm hoping that that's just going to continue to develop and eliminate the need for a native app. We'll see.
Now, did you start all this pre-COVID? Because, luckily we only had one employee that didn't come back, and that was because of a family health issue. Everyone else, we were able to pull off unemployment and bring them back. But I know some states are more difficult than others. Like I have a friend in California who's just having such a problem trying to get staff. People just aren't coming off unemployment. So were you developing all this pre-COVID, and how was it pre-COVID, COVID, and now are we starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel with people getting vaccines?
Pre-COVID, yes, we developed and we were growing. Everything was doing really well. COVID hit. We obviously went down a couple of months, 2-3 months where we had no income at all, just because the industry was pretty much shut down. Now I say that we're in Washington and Florida and Texas, but the Texas thing just kind of started happening. So, the industry was shut down. We definitely orders tanked, but things are coming back, but it is slow right now. One of the issues is just people are getting paid to sit at home. And then there are other people that are not able to go to work because maybe they're a single parent and they don't have any childcare. So those are the ones that really tug at my heartstrings, is because I know that they're kind of helpless and, can't do anything based on that. So, but that's kind of what we're seeing right now.
And how does the temp to perm, how does that work? So let's say we're hooked up with a staffer and it just clicks. We really like them. Is that something that is like a 3 to 6 month period, or can we hire them full time right away? What's that process like?
Well, either Joanna or myself could speak to this, but basically, temp to perm, there's a certain amount of hours, and I think it's like 800 hours, right? We really want to give the two parties a good opportunity to work with one another for a lengthy period of time, because anybody can fake something for a week or two, but when you are with somebody for 2, 3, 6 months, it's it's not easy to fake something at that point. So everybody kind of figures one another out, and whether or not that's a good fit for the two parties. So that's really what we're after. That's why we wanted to try to push that as one of our main or staple services when it comes to staffing long-term direct.
Exact timeline too, but after a hire, if there is within a certain period of time a separation and it doesn't work out, we do have a replacement guarantee where we'll look for another person there.
Yeah, I mean, I can pretend to be a nice guy for like 3 to 6 months, and then after that, the cat's out of the bag, and my true colors show. But
so, and they have, Eric.
Yes, they have. Yeah. Actually, I've been speaking with Brad for probably more than 6 months now, but so, you know, and I think that's, we had some issues with going through, Indeed and going through resumes, and people weren't showing up to their interviews. We had some people put on a great interview and they just never even showed up for their first day of work. It's just very frustrating for dentists to spend this amount of time, or the office manager, or whoever's doing the staffing and hiring. So you're taking all of that out of our hands, and you're basically doing all of that for us.
Yeah,
And that can.
it's not just the time, it's the expertise.
Mhm.
Because I mean, hiring is not intuitive, as you just, it's just not. It's a skill that's developed over time, and we've got that skill in our team based on years and years of experience. So it's twofold. On the other side of it too, we were talking with a dentist about the workforce management solution, and she was doing her own payroll processing, and that is purely administrative, no value add. And you have payroll errors, or I didn't get my check, my hours were wrong, and there's a reissue. I mean, that's just really not a good use of a dentist's time. And we take all of that out of your hand, or let alone you have some sort of HR issue and one employee's claiming the other one was harassing or discriminating. You do not want to spend your time in that. Not only is it a time waster, but you want an independent investigation of those sorts of things. We can advise you as to what your insurance coverage is, whether or not we got to get outside counsel, hopefully not. And just the things you need to do to protect yourself and take the right steps. So, and a lot of just other HR coaching. We also help manage your performance reviews and get you organized around performance coaching and your annual reviews to give folks the feedback that they need so that they know where they're going in their development, get your folks on a regular annual training schedule for their certifications and everything else. So really manage their performance so that they feel like they're going somewhere. And just, that's a big thing. I mean, people really want to be developed, but the boss is always too busy, and then people get frustrated and leave. So we take all of that out of your hands in the workforce management solution.
That's such a great thing to do, because people crave feedback. And, from the newest assistant to a dentist that's been there as an associate for years, people crave feedback. So to have those check-ins and those reviews, I think, is very important, because someone may be having an issue that they're just not talking about, and then they end up leaving. And turnover is such a headache for an office, and it's so inefficient. It's really bad for culture, and turnover is expensive to go through that whole process. So I think that's a great idea. And
we do not do the evaluation. And what we worry about too is as we onboard employees, it's really important for them to know we are not the boss, right? We are the silent partner that makes it all flow. But we don't want, because the name on the paycheck does change. It's your office powered by DTSS, right? But you're still their boss. We're just enabling you to focus on the performance and setting up the structures and the infrastructure that make it easier for you to do those things. But that's really important to know, that we can give you the tools and make it easy for you, but you have to give that feedback.
So I almost feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that you're taking all of the managerial portion out of my day. So I don't have to worry about any of that. I can just focus on dentistry, on what I was trained to do. And am I wrong by saying you're almost like becoming like the DSO background of my office without actually being a DSO? It's still my office. You're just handling all the HR and staff, that, to tell you the truth, I think that part stresses dentists out the most, is having to deal with all that, other than dealing with PPO insurances. But that's, if you ask 9 out of 10 dentists, dealing with HR and staff and hiring and that whole process is their biggest stress throughout their career.
And not only you, Eric, but your office manager, if you have one, someone your size may have somebody as a manager, just kind of making sure things run smoothly. now they can focus on patient care, right? Which is what you and your office should be focused on anyway.
That's great. Yeah. Well, thanks so much. I think this was a very informative podcast. Again, thank you to the DTSS Dental Temps Staffing Solutions, Brett Cole, Joanna Monroe, and Pete Rowe. Thanks so much for joining us. Just any last words of advice for any dentists out there, especially the young dentists that maybe they're just starting their practice? Is now, a better time than ever to look into hiring a company like yours?
I think so. I mean, with the things that we're going to be doing, or we're doing now, and then, with what we have, or looking at in the future, as you and I've talked about, really focused on trying to help you be successful, and manage, be a good manager of your time, and let you focus on what you need to do to run your business, what your business is all about. Your business isn't all about, health, human capital management and finding fill-ins and all that stuff. So hopefully, as new folks come into the industry, they'll be much more receptive. I think things are changing with technology and stuff like that. So be open-minded, and then, hopefully there are companies like us will be around, and we'll be able to help out.
All right. That's great. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's be in touch.
Right. Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
All right. Take care.